But anyway, I don't want to say too much about him because he's a prima donna who likes attention, and I don't want to give it to him. But I think it merits talking about. The breaking news yesterday from ESPN was that apparently Favre did have surgery last month on his shoulder. Sometime last month, don't know when. It was arthroscopic.
Yes, that's correct.
That's what I heard. The thing about it is, I just want to know, and this is just point blank. Is he going to play this year? Do you think so? Yes or no?
I do. I do think he's going to play. Some of the articles that I've read and some of the things I've heard, I do think he's going to play. And I mean, the question was, is he going to play or not? So yes.
Mm-hmm.
What I feel about that being a good idea, I don't know. We were talking pre-show.
We had a long discussion that ended up putting back.
Actually, delayed our show. Yeah,
I just the start of our tape in like 20 minutes.
If it, nobody's going to convince me. I've convinced myself now. So nobody's going to convince me that a lot of this specific comeback number, whatever it is, 8, isn't partly or largely due to the fact that it's in the division and he wants to play the Packers. Nobody will convince me that that's not a large part of it. And I think that's the absolute wrong reason to come back.
If it was, I think there are some instances where the revenge factor can be a good thing. I don't think it will be for him because I don't think he has the skills to get revenge anymore.
And you know what I could see happening? And first of all, do you think he comes back?
Yes.
So as far as what are your thoughts? How do you we had a big discussion about this pre-show. Mm-hmm. How do you think he does this year?
Poor. I don't think he does well at all.
Poor? Did you say poor or poorer?
Poor.
So like in relation to last year, worse?
Well, last year was a thoroughly average season where, in my opinion, and this is the big discussion we were having, was, in my opinion, the reason the Jets went from 8-3 to 9-7 last year was because of him. That was my opinion, that he was the reason for that collapse. I blame him, so to speak.
Well, you had a great...
said, like, poor, I mean, do I think he throws more than 22 interceptions? I don't know, but I think he throws about the same many interceptions. The question is, can he make that up with the 22 touchdowns? And the question is, does he, here's the thing I have a hard time thinking is the Vikings just traded for Sage Rosenfels. They have Tavares Jackson for what it's worth. Is it really going to help things by putting Favre in the picture? And that's what we're saying. It's going to probably be the Vikings. I can't see him going anywhere else because he wants to play for a contender, and he wants to play for somebody that's going to go with the Packers. And the Vikings are the closest thing to both. It's not like
considering the situation with the Bears and Lions, it's not happening.
Yeah. Well, somebody, was it you that said? No. Jamie said that the Bears should get him and have Favre mentor. All right, and then I pitched in that Favre should mentor Cutler. Yeah,
I just don't. I just don't like. I don't like this whole thing. I used to have a lot of respect for Brett Favre. I'm not saying I don't respect him as a person, but you're right. You said just a minute ago he's a prima donna that likes attention, and I just don't agree with this. And he's not going to do very well. And it's going to be close between that division is going to be close, and I just don't think I don't think he's got enough left in the tank to move them from potential playoff team to potential divisional team or championship game team.
That being said, I don't think Rosenfels is the answer either, or Tavares Jackson.
Yeah, but here's the other thing: you got to think, and this is I don't think I've ever mentioned this to you or on the show.
You like Sage Rosenfels, right?
Well, no, I was going to talk about Favre.
Oh, okay.
What I feel like these teams are forgetting is, if I was a GM of a team, I'm thinking, obviously depending on the exact situation of my team, I'm thinking long term. And this is not this. Yeah, what 1 year at best. All it's going to do is it's a 1 year quick. I think we're going to solve the solution, and I just don't agree with that. Look at what it did. It set the Jets. You could argue it set the Jets back a little bit.
Well, here's what I know. Number one. If I was a GM, I would probably hit the panic button really fast and give up on long-term ideas for short-term attempts at success.
Which is exactly what this is. Continue.
Well, it's easy to say from our perspective that, I would think long-term. In their situation, I'd probably be hitting the panic button. I'm like, Favre, let's get Favre. He's available. I'd probably be doing the same thing just because I would be a terrible GM. But the other thing about it is that, you got to think about the situation there. The worst thing they did this offseason really was trade for Rosenfels, because I don't think if he's not the answer, then that you're set back there. Because you're basically saying Tavares Jackson's not the answer. We've invested 3 years in him. That sets you back. If Rosenfels doesn't pan out, you set yourself back again. And honestly, if I'm a GM, if I think I have a legitimate chance at signing a guy and having him take us from, here to promised land, Super Bowl winner, I do it. If I can make a move that'll make me a contender right now, I would do it.
I don't even think I can understand what you're saying, but in this exact vacuum example that we're using, I don't even think Brett Favre is that person.
No, but they've convinced themselves that he is. Well, the whole thing about the Vikings is, and everybody says this, but this is a big assumption, and on paper it probably wouldn't even pan out in real life, which is if the Vikings just had a quarterback, they would be the most dominant team in the league because they need some offense. But we said that about the Ravens for years, didn't we? We still say that about the Ravens. Of course, everybody says Flacco's the answer. I don't buy it. But the main point is, they just need a quarterback. They just need a quarterback. If Favre plays half as good as he played for the majority of his career, then it's an improvement over Tavares Jackson.
Yeah, but
if he does, that's the thing. It's a calculated risk.
Yeah, I think what's interesting for me is, it'd be cool to be a GM someday, but I think I'm in sports with many of my teams very long. I'm just more naturally a long-term ish kind of thoughts, and it's just terrible. It did set the Jets back, and you can. The point about Rosenfels is actually a very good point, but I just don't think it's a good move, and I think they're quickly forgetting because you said, like you said, they've convinced themselves that he's the answer, and so he has an average season, maybe gets them to the playoffs. Okay, maybe they get eliminated in the wild card round, and then he's done. Where does that leave him now?
I'll say this: the Vikings made the playoffs with Tavares Jackson last year. Favre is at least as bad as Tavares Jackson. I mean, right? I mean, he's the same. I would put him in the same level.
I think the Bears are a little improved. I think it's going to be a close race.
But the point being is that if the Vikings can make the playoffs with Tavares Jackson, they should be able to make it with Brett Favre. They should, on paper.
On paper, yes.
Which is that key thing. But we've already given him enough attention. Chris, don't you have some baseball you want to talk about?
So okay,
we've been forgetting about it for.
So what's interesting enough is we're a good 6 weeks or whatever into the season, and the LA Dodgers are 39-19. And they're 18 and 11 without Manny. But what I really wanted to ask you, because or did they win last night? What is it? Are they 39-20 or are they 40-19?
39-20.
So they lost last night. So 39-20, still by far the best record in the league. And they've done very solid, if not better, without Manny. Right now, Manny is up among the leaders for All-Star votes.
Last week I read that he dropped to 5th on the ballot.
So he's among the leaders because of outfielders.
I thought it was okay, but he's not going to make it though if he's 5th though, right?
Well, but my question to you is, do you think that? Well, I guess it's
does he deserve?
I guess it's twofold. One, do you think that he should be able to play? Because there are very, very many mixed views on this. And two, do you think that are you okay with fans voting for the All-Star players?
In the current system, if the fans vote him in, he plays. The fans should not get a vote. There. Point blank. In all sports. In all sports. The fans do not vote for All-Stars, especially.
So do you?
Why are we doing an All-Star game in the middle of the season?
It's tradition.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, okay, it's tradition, but I think the tradition argument's always a weak one. But the whole thing about it though is. You don't know. If somebody does good in the first half of the season and tanks in the second half of the season, are they truly an all-star?
Well, the reason for that is, they baseball, as you know, play almost every day. They play usually 7 days a week. So the whole thing of it is it's almost halftime or intermission with like the season. They get 3 or sometimes 4 days off. All the All-Star festivities. That's it's the whole big pageantry of it. But so is your thing, besides the fact that it should be moved, do you think that it should be based on stats? Best first baseman, that kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, my whole thing is just I don't see how you can say, I'm still kind of hung up. I don't see how you can claim anybody as an all-star in the midway point of the season. It's halfway there. You haven't accomplished anything yet. I guess that's why being an all-star, playing on the all-star game doesn't mean anything compared to being the MVP or because at least the MVP and all that, those awards don't even get announced until after the postseason. That's the kind of thing that I think is. I think that's actually right, even.
Yeah, I was just curious because that's very interesting because,
I really don't have a problem with there being a break. That's cool. In fact, if you just want to make it all like gimmicky stuff like home run derbies and all that, that's cool. I just don't think you should be naming all-stars midseason. That's all. That's my whole thing.
Yeah.
Any sport.
Yeah. I just think it was just, I think it was very interesting because there was